Hello, BookTube. Today we're continuing the bookshelf tour. That's the fourth bookcase, the long wall bookcase. We are 3 shelves down, and we are 5, the fifth part in. These are done in little cubes. They're IKEA bookshelves. So it's an easy way to track where we are in the videos and in the shelf tour. So this and the next few, actually almost all the way to the end. So the next 4 parts will be religious books in one form or another. And a good way to start that, we did mythology and stuff last time. But we'll start that with this section, A History of God by Karen Armstrong, the 4,000-year quest of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. I really like Karen Armstrong. We've got a few of her books here in the house. And this is a Ballantine book, New York, obviously a paperback. And it's 1993. And it's, let's see, maybe by reading some of the chapters. So it has some maps and an introduction. It starts in the beginning. Chapter 2 is one God. 3 is a light to the Gentiles. 4 is Trinity, the Christian God. 5 is unity, the God of Islam. 6, the God of the philosophers. 7, the God of the mystics. 8, a God for reformers. 9, enlightenment. 10, the death of God. And 11, does God have a future? Then there's glossary, notes, and suggestions for further reading, as well as an index. So the second volume in this shelf is Great Religions of the World, a National Geographic Society book. It used to have a dust jacket. It's actually pretty attractive without it. Sort of a neat purple color. And there's the end papers. I like these National Geographic books, whether they be on religion, the sea, all sorts of subjects. A volume in the Story of Man library. Let's see, 1971. So The Forge by Krister Stendhal. They've got some great authors in here for people who studied religion. You have chapters by Robert McAfee Brown. Let's see, Hans Hillebrand, Joseph M. Kitagawa, Elie Wiesel, and quite a few others. And it's your typical National Geographic where you have the high-end articles, but you also have the incredible artwork and photographs. Let's see. And then on a different consistency of paper, you have sections of writings. Fascinating book. So that's Great Religions of the World, National Geographic Society. And then this next one's a standard. Huston Smith, The World's Religions. A little sun faded there. More than 2 million copies sold when this came out. Probably a lot more now. So Harper's One, an imprint of HarperCollins Publishers, and it's the revised and updated edition came out in '58. When's this one out? 1986. And it's a guide to the world's religions. So Hinduism, Buddhism, Confucianism, Taoism, Islam, Judaism, Christianity, and the primal religions. And then the final examination. I've always enjoyed his stuff. I had a nice paper, large format paper illustrated version of this. I don't have it anymore, but if you find that, that's nice to have. And then the next one here is the Druids. This is by Peter Beresford Ellis. William B. Erdman's Publishing Company, Grand Rapids, Michigan, and this was in 1994. I've always been sort of fascinated by him. There's as much, this is the Gunstrip Cup. You'll see that in a lot of these books. A lot of heavily speculative stuff done on the Druids, but this is a pretty good book here. Fighting that glare a bit. There's the sacrifice. Caesar's Wicker Man. And then moving right along. This is John Stevens, Zen Masters, a maverick, a master of masters, and a wandering poet. Tiny little thing. One of these flexible covers, sort of nice. Got the flaps, and then let's see, it is, I got my cat over here wanting to crawl up on my lap. Previously this was published under the title Three Zen Masters, Ikkyu, Hakuen, and Ryokan. I'm not pronouncing that right, I'm sure. This is 1999 copyright. Kodansha International Limited. So this will give you an idea of the layout. There are some illustrations. So a neat little book on Zen. And this, the I Ching, or Book of Changes. Wilhelm and Baines, Bollingen Series number 19, Princeton University Press. It's another book you'll see around quite a bit. It's got this really nice, I don't know if you can tell on there, you might actually be able to get an idea, this like rice paper. So it's the I Ching, or Book of Changes, Richard Wilhelm translation, rendered into English by Carrie F. Baines, forward by C.G. Young, preface to the third edition by Helmut Wilhelm, Princeton University Press, 1950. The new material copyrights 1967. So anybody's into that, this is one of the translations, and this one happens to be the one I have. Then, this is, a lot of folks will remember the movie, and this one actually has a cover from the movie. It was Heinrich Harrer, 7 Years in Tibet, forward by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So some of you will recognize that. Translated from the German by Richard Graves, with an introduction by Peter Fleming. This is Jeremy P. Tarcher Putnam, a member of Penguin Putnam Incorporated, New York. And it was originally published in 1953, and this one, it looks like, is 1996. So here's a foreword by the Dalai Lama. This is the map that goes with the book. And does have photographs. And moving right along, this is, normally I wouldn't keep a volume where the sun damage was enough so you couldn't even read the spine. But this is an exceptional book. And these are the end papers. This is the Book of the Hopi. by Frank Waters. Drawings and source material recorded by Oswald Whitebear Fredericks, New York, the Viking Press. And this book was from 1963. This is quite the book, if you're into that sort of thing, which I am. So, yeah, real treasure, even without a dust jacket and with a little bit of sun damage on the spine. Now we get back to some Karen Armstrong again. This is The Spiral Staircase, My Climb Out of Darkness by Karen Armstrong. Let me see here. Alfred A. Knopf, New York, Toronto, 2004. Karen Armstrong begins a spellbinding story of her spiritual journey with her departure in 1969 from the Roman Catholic convent she had entered 7 years before, hoping but ultimately failing to find God. She knew almost nothing of the changed world to which she was returning, and she was tormented by panic attacks and inexplicable seizures. Armstrong's struggle against despair was further fueled by a string of discouragements, failed spirituality, doctorate, and jobs, fruitless dealings with psychiatrists. Finally, in 1976, she was diagnosed with epilepsy, given proper treatment, and released from her private hell. She then began the writing career that would become her true calling, and as she focused on the sacred texts of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, her own inner story began to emerge. Without realizing it, she had embarked on a spiritual quest, and through it, she would eventually experience moments of transcendence, the profound fulfillment that she had not found in long hours of prayer as a young nun. Powerfully engaging, often heartbreaking, but lit with bursts of humor, The Spiral Staircase is an extraordinary history of self. I have not read this, but it is one that is definitely on my TV. The next one is the Young's Analytical Concordance to the Bible by Robert Young. This one is published by Hendrickson. So, let's see, contained about 311,000 references, subdivided under the Hebrew and Greek originals, with literal meaning and pronunciation of each, designed for the simplest reader of the English Bible. So a lot of you have used a concordance. You can find out where a particular word or so. Let me give an example here. So if you wanted to find out where cities, the word cities had shown up, as you can tell, be a lot of them, but they'd start right out with Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. That's just cities. It keeps going. It's telling you where the word shows up. We haven't even gotten to the New Testament. Kept going there. So, concordance, I don't use it as much as I used to, but as a student it was wonderful to have. And then finally, A History of the Holy Land, edited by Michael Aviona. Let's see, show you the end papers here. So it's A History of the Holy Land, edited by Michael Aviona, Stymatsky's Agency Limited, Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, Haifa, Weidenfield and Nicholson Limited, London, and this is from 1969. So it starts out with a prehistory of the Holy Land, the Canaanite and Israelite periods, the Second Temple, history of Palestine from the Arab conquest, Palestine during the Crusades, Palestine under the Mamluks and the Ottoman Empire, and then the birth of Israel. So I'll just give you an idea of some of the illustrations here. So that does it for, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th part of the 3rd shelf of the 4th bookcase. This one was all religion, as will be the next few. So thank you, BookTube.